Maya Rodriguez had always been different from the other soldiers at Fort Kingston. While her fellow recruits spent their evenings playing cards or video games, she could be found in the armory, carefully adjusting the scope on her rifle or practicing her breathing techniques. The other soldiers thought she was obsessed, maybe even a little crazy. "Look at Rodriguez again," whispered Private Jenkins to his buddies as they walked past the shooting range. "Still out there with that beat-up old rifle. Doesn't she know the military issues better equipment?" Maya heard the comment, but didn't turn around. She was used to the whispers, the sideways glances, and the barely concealed laughter. Her rifle setup did look unusual compared to the standard military-issued weapons. While everyone else carried the latest tactical gear with all the modern attachments, Maya's rifle looked like something from a different era. It was her grandfather's hunting rifle that she had modified herself, adding a scope she had bought with her own money and customizing the stock to fit her small frame perfectly. The rifle had been with her family for 3 generations. Her grandfather, Miguel Rodriguez, had used it during his time as a hunter in the mountains of New Mexico. Her father had carried it during weekend hunting trips when Maya was growing up. Now it was hers, and despite what everyone else thought, she trusted it more than any fancy military weapon. Maya came from a small town called Cedar Valley, population 1,200. Her family had never been wealthy, but they had always been proud. Her father worked at the local auto repair shop, and her mother was a teacher at the elementary school. When Maya announced she was joining the military, her parents were both proud and terrified. They knew their daughter was tough, but the military was a different world entirely. Growing up in Cedar Valley had taught Maya many things. She learned to hunt when she was 8 years old, following her father and grandfather into the mountains every winter. By the time she was 12, she could track a deer through fresh snow and make a clean shot from 200 yards away. Her grandfather always said she had a natural gift, something that couldn't be taught. "The rifle is just a tool," her grandfather would tell her during their hunting trips. "The real weapon is up here," he would say, tapping his temple. "You need to think like your target, understand the wind, know your environment. Technology can help, but it can't replace understanding." Those lessons had stayed with Maya through her childhood and into her military training. While other recruits relied heavily on their equipment and training manuals, Maya trusted her instincts and her deep understanding of marksmanship that had been passed down through her family. Basic training had been challenging for Maya in ways that had nothing to do with the physical demands. She was one of only 3 women in her unit, and the other 2 had quickly proven themselves through conventional means. Sarah Chun excelled at hand-to-hand combat, and Jennifer Walsh was a natural leader who could organize any mission efficiently. Maya's talents were less obvious and less appreciated. During weapons training, Maya consistently outshot her fellow recruits, but her methods raised eyebrows among the instructors. While everyone else followed the standard shooting positions and techniques exactly as taught in the manual, Maya made subtle adjustments based on her years of experience. She would slightly modify her stance depending on the wind, adjust her breathing pattern based on her heart rate, and make tiny changes to her grip that seemed insignificant but improved her accuracy dramatically. Sergeant Williams, their primary weapons instructor, was old-school military. He believed in following procedures exactly and didn't appreciate Maya's unconventional approach. "Rodriguez," he would bark during training sessions, "this isn't a hunting trip with your daddy. Follow the manual or find yourself another career." Maya would nod respectfully and continue shooting, but she couldn't help making the small adjustments that felt natural to her. Her scores were consistently the highest in the unit, but instead of earning praise, her success seemed to make some of the instructors more suspicious of her methods. The other recruits' attitudes toward Maya were mixed. Some respected her shooting ability, even if they thought her methods were strange. Others, particularly those who struggled with marksmanship themselves, seemed to resent her natural talent. They made jokes about her hillbilly hunting rifle and her backwards country techniques. Private Thompson was one of the most vocal critics. He came from a wealthy family in Boston and had attended military academy before enlisting. Everything about Thompson was polished and professional, from his perfectly maintained uniform to his expensive personal equipment. He couldn't understand how someone with Maya's background could outperform him consistently. "It's not fair," Thompson complained to anyone who would listen. "She's not even using proper military equipment. How can the instructors allow that rusty old gun on a military base?" Maya tried to stay focused on her training and ignore the negativity around her. She had joined the military with specific goals in mind. She wanted to serve her country, earn money for college, and maybe find a career that would use her unique skills. She hadn't expected it to be easy, but she also hadn't anticipated how difficult it would be to fit in with her fellow soldiers. Her bunkmate, Private Lisa Park, was one of the few people who tried to understand Maya's perspective. Lisa came from a military family and had grown up around different types of soldiers. She recognized that Maya's unconventional background might actually be an asset rather than a liability. "Don't let them get to you," Lisa would tell Maya during their evening conversations. "My dad always said the military needs all different kinds of soldiers. Not everyone has to fit the same mold." Maya appreciated Lisa's support, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was fighting an uphill battle. Every day brought new challenges and new opportunities for her fellow soldiers to question her methods or mock her equipment. She began to wonder if she had made a mistake by joining the military. The breaking point came during a training exercise in their 8th week of basic training. The recruits were participating in a simulated combat scenario where they had to navigate through a mock village and neutralize targets without hitting civilian mannequins scattered throughout the area. It was a complex exercise that tested not only marksmanship, but also decision-making under pressure. Maya's squad was assigned to clear a building where hostile targets were hidden among civilian figures. The scenario required careful observation and precise shooting. As they approached the building, Maya noticed something that the others had missed. Through a second-story window, she could see the barrel of a rifle barely visible behind curtain. It was positioned to ambush the squad as they entered the building. "Contact, 2nd floor, northwest window," Maya whispered into her radio. Squad leader Corporal Martinez looked in the direction Maya indicated, but couldn't see anything. "Are you sure, Rodriguez? I don't see any threat." Maya studied the window more carefully. The rifle barrel was almost completely hidden, and the angle made it difficult to spot unless you knew exactly what to look for. It was the kind of detail her grandfather had taught her notice during hunting trips when they were tracking wounded animals through thick forest. "Confirmed contact," Maya reported. "Sniper rifle, partially concealed behind window covering." The other squad members looked skeptical. Private Thompson rolled his eyes and muttered something about seeing things that aren't there. Even Corporal Martinez seemed uncertain about Maya's assessment. "Rodriguez, take the shot if you're confident," Martinez finally decided. Maya positioned herself carefully, taking into account the distance, elevation, and slight breeze coming from the west. She could feel the eyes of her squad mates on her as she lined up the shot. The target was barely visible, and she knew that missing would confirm everyone's doubts about her abilities. She controlled her breathing, let her heart rate settle, and gently squeezed the trigger. The shot was perfect, striking the target dummy in the center of mass. Immediately, the exercise controllers announced over the loudspeaker that a hostile sniper had been eliminated. The squad stood in stunned silence for a moment. Even Maya was surprised by how well everything had come together. The shot had been challenging even by her standards, and she felt a rush of satisfaction at proving her abilities. "Holy shit, Rodriguez," Corporal Martinez said, forgetting military protocol in his excitement. "How did you even see that target?" Maya shrugged, trying to appear casual despite her inner pride. "My grandfather taught me to look for things that don't belong. That rifle barrel caught the light just slightly different than the window frame." The rest of the exercise went smoothly, with Maya's early elimination of the sniper allowing the squad to complete their mission without casualties. As they walked back to the debriefing area, Maya noticed that her squad mates were looking at her differently. The mockery and skepticism had been replaced by something approaching respect. Private Thompson was unusually quiet during the walk back. Maya had just demonstrated a level of skill that his expensive equipment and formal training couldn't match. It was a humbling experience for someone who had always prided himself on being the best at everything he attempted. During the debriefing, the exercise instructor, Captain Foster, specifically praised Maya's target identification and marksmanship. Rodriguez's early detection of the sniper threat saved this mission, he announced to the assembled recruits. This is exactly the kind of awareness and skill we need in combat situations. For the first time since arriving at Fort Kingston, Maya felt like she truly belonged. The criticism and jokes about her equipment seemed petty compared to the results she had just achieved. She began to realize that her unconventional background might actually be her greatest strength rather than a weakness to overcome. That evening, several of her fellow recruits approached her with questions about her shooting techniques and hunting background. Even some of the soldiers who had previously mocked her seemed genuinely interested in learning from her experience. Maya found herself explaining concepts that seemed obvious to her, but were completely foreign to soldiers who had grown up in cities and suburbs. The key is understanding your environment, Maya explained to a small group gathered around her bunk. Every place has its own personality. The way the wind moves, how the light changes throughout the day, what sounds are normal and what sounds are wrong. You have to become part of the place you're in. Private Chun asked about Maya's rifle setup and why she chose to modify a hunting rifle instead of using standard military equipment. Maya explained that she had been working with this rifle for years and understood exactly how it performed in different conditions. The modifications she had made were subtle but significant, tailored specifically to her shooting style and physical characteristics. It's not about having the most expensive or newest equipment, Maya said. It's about understanding your tools completely and knowing their limits. This rifle and I have a relationship. I know exactly what it will do in any situation. The conversation continued late into the evening, with Maya sharing stories from her childhood hunting trips and explaining techniques her grandfather had taught her. For the first time since joining the military, she felt like her background was being seen as valuable rather than strange. As the weeks passed, Maya's reputation continued to grow. Instructors who had previously been skeptical began to pay attention to her methods and even incorporated some of her techniques into their teaching. Her fellow recruits stopped making jokes about her equipment and started asking for advice on improving their own marksmanship. Maya's confidence grew along with her reputation, but she remained humble about her abilities. She understood that her skills were the result of years of patient teaching from her grandfather and countless hours of practice in the mountains of New Mexico. She also knew that military combat would present challenges that hunting had never prepared her for. The final weeks of basic training included more complex exercises that tested the recruits' ability to work as a team under stressful conditions. Maya found that her improved relationship with her fellow soldiers made these exercises much more enjoyable and successful. Instead of feeling like an outsider, she was now an integral part of her unit. During one particularly challenging night exercise, Maya's squad was tasked with defending a strategic position against a simulated enemy attack. The exercise was designed to test their ability to work together under pressure and make quick decisions based on limited information. Maya was positioned as the squad's designated marksman, responsible for providing long-range support and gathering intelligence about enemy movements. As the exercise began, she used her enhanced observational skills to track the approaching enemy forces and relay critical information to her squad leader. Multiple contacts approaching from the northeast, Maya reported quietly into her radio. I count at least 6 individuals moving in a standard tactical formation. They're being careful, but I can see them using the tree line for cover. Corporal Martinez trusted Maya's assessment completely now and began positioning the squad's defenses based on her intelligence. The confidence that her squad leader showed in her abilities gave Maya an additional boost of confidence in herself. As the simulated battle developed, Maya found herself in a perfect position to demonstrate how her unique skills could contribute to military success. She was able to identify and neutralize key targets while providing valuable intelligence that allowed her squad to anticipate enemy movements and respond effectively. The exercise concluded with Maya's squad successfully defending their position while suffering minimal simulated casualties. During the debriefing, the exercise instructors praised the squad's coordination and specifically highlighted Maya's contribution as the designated marksman. Rodriguez's intelligence gathering and marksmanship were instrumental in this success, Captain Foster announced. She demonstrated exactly how specialized skills can be integrated effectively into military operations. As basic training neared its end, Maya reflected on how much had changed since her arrival at Fort Kingston. She had gone from being an outsider with questionable equipment to being a respected member of her unit whose unique skills were valued and appreciated. The transformation hadn't been easy, and Maya knew that she would face similar challenges throughout her military career. However, she had learned important lessons about persistence, confidence, and the value of staying true to her own abilities even when others questioned them. Maya's grandfather had always told her that the most important battles were fought in the mind before any shots were fired. She was beginning to understand what he meant. Her success at Fort Kingston hadn't come from changing who she was or abandoning her background. Instead, it had come from having the confidence to demonstrate her abilities and the patience to wait for others to recognize their value. As graduation from basic training approached, Maya received news about her next assignment. She had been selected for advanced marksmanship training and would be assigned to a reconnaissance unit where her skills would be put to even greater use. The news filled her with excitement and nervousness about the challenges that lay ahead. Maya spent her final days at Fort Kingston saying goodbye to the friends she had made and the instructors who had eventually come to appreciate her unique talents. Even Sergeant Williams, who had been her harshest critic early in training, took time to speak with her privately before her departure. "Rodriguez," he said in his gruff military manner, "I owe you an apology. I was wrong to dismiss your methods early on. You've taught me something important about the value of different perspectives and experiences." Maya was touched by the sergeant's words and grateful that he had taken the time to acknowledge his change of opinion. It was a powerful reminder that people could grow and change when they were willing to open their minds to new possibilities. Maya's advanced training took place at Fort Braxton, home to the military's elite reconnaissance units. The facility was much larger and more intense than Fort Kingston, with specialized training areas designed to simulate real combat conditions. Maya arrived on a hot August morning, carrying her duffel bag and the same rifle case that had drawn so much attention during basic training. The Advanced Reconnaissance School was known throughout the military for its demanding standards and high dropout rate. Only soldiers who had demonstrated exceptional skills in their basic training were selected for the program. Maya felt honored to be there, but she also understood that she would be competing against some of the military's most talented individuals. Her new unit consisted of 12 soldiers from various backgrounds and military occupational specialties. Unlike basic training, where everyone was learning fundamental military skills, this group was composed of specialists who had already proven themselves in their respective fields. There were communications experts, demolition specialists, intelligence analysts, and experienced infantrymen. Maya was the only designated marksman in the group, and once again, she found herself standing out for her unconventional equipment and methods. The other soldiers had access to the latest military sniper rifles and high-tech optic systems. Maya's modified hunting rifle looked primitive by comparison, but she had learned to trust her abilities regardless of what others thought. The commanding officer of the reconnaissance school was Lieutenant Colonel James Harrison, a decorated veteran with over 20 years of military experience. Colonel Harrison had served in multiple combat deployments and was known for his no-nonsense approach to training. He evaluated soldiers based purely on their performance and results, not on their background or equipment preferences. During the first week of training, Maya's group participated in a series of assessment exercises designed to evaluate their current skill levels and identify areas for improvement. These exercises were much more challenging than anything Maya had experienced during basic training, incorporating elements of stealth, long-range observation, and precision shooting under adverse conditions. One of the most challenging assessments was a 72-hour field exercise where soldiers had to navigate through rough terrain while avoiding detection by opposing forces. Each soldier was required to reach a series of observation points and gather intelligence about simulated enemy activities without being discovered. Maya's background in hunting and tracking gave her significant advantages during this exercise. While other soldiers relied heavily on their technical equipment and formal training, Maya used instincts and skills she had developed during years of moving quietly through the mountains of New Mexico. She understood how to move with the natural patterns of the environment, how to avoid creating disturbances that might alert observers, and how to find concealment using natural terrain features. The exercise began before dawn on a Monday morning. Maya and her fellow soldiers were dropped off at different locations within a 50-square-mile training area and given coordinates for their first observation point. They had to reach the location undetected, spend several hours gathering intelligence, and then move to subsequent points while avoiding patrol units that were actively searching for them. Maya's first challenge was crossing a river valley that was under constant surveillance by opposing forces. Other soldiers might have tried to use high-tech equipment to detect enemy positions or waited for darkness to provide cover. Instead, Maya studied the patterns of the surveillance teams and identified natural movement corridors that would allow her to cross without being seen. She noticed that the opposing forces were focusing their attention on obvious crossing points like bridges and shallow areas. However, Maya's hunting experience had taught her that animals and humans often use different routes through terrain. She found a crossing point where the river curved sharply and created a natural blind spot that couldn't be observed from any of the surveillance positions. Maya waited patiently for the right moment to make her move. She had learned from her grandfather that patience was often more valuable than speed or equipment. After observing the surveillance patterns for several hours, she identified a 15-minute window when the guards changed positions and their attention was focused elsewhere. The crossing went smoothly, and Maya reached her first observation point ahead of schedule. From her concealed position, she was able to gather detailed intelligence about enemy troop movements, equipment, and communication patterns. Her observations were more comprehensive than required because she had extra time to study the situation carefully. Maya's second objective required her to travel 15 miles through dense forest while avoiding multiple patrol units. This was exactly the kind of challenge her childhood training had prepared her for. She moved through the forest like she was tracking deer with her grandfather, using natural cover and avoiding areas where her movement might create noise or disturbance. During the second day of the exercise, Maya encountered a situation that tested her problem-solving abilities under pressure. She discovered that one of the patrol routes passed directly through the area she needed to cross to reach her next observation point. The patrol consisted of 4 soldiers who were specifically trained to detect and capture reconnaissance personnel. Maya studied the patrol's movements and realized they were following a predictable pattern based on official military doctrine. However, her unconventional background allowed her to think creatively about alternative solutions. Instead of trying to avoid the patrol entirely, she decided to use their own movements to her advantage. Maya positioned herself in a location where the patrol would pass close to her hiding spot. When they approached, she used a technique her grandfather had taught her for calling deer. By making subtle sounds that mimicked natural forest noises, she was able to redirect the patrol's attention to an area away from her planned route. The tactic worked perfectly. The patrol investigated the sounds Maya had created, giving her the opportunity to cross their route undetected and continue toward her objective. It was a creative solution that probably wouldn't be found in any military manual, but it demonstrated the value of thinking beyond conventional approaches. Maya's performance during the 72-hour exercise was exceptional. She reached all of her objectives ahead of schedule, gathered comprehensive intelligence, and completed the entire exercise without being detected by opposing forces. When the exercise concluded, she was one of only 3 soldiers who had successfully completed all requirements without any penalties or setbacks. During the debriefing session, Colonel Harrison specifically praised Maya's performance and asked her to explain some of her unconventional techniques to the other soldiers. Maya was initially hesitant to share information that seemed obvious to her, but apparently wasn't common knowledge in military circles. Rodriguez demonstrated some interesting approaches to movement and concealment. Colonel Harrison announced to the group, "I'd like her to share some insights that might benefit everyone's training." Maya stood up nervously, still not entirely comfortable being the center of attention. She began by explaining how her grandfather had taught her to observe natural patterns and use them to predict animal behavior. The same principles could be applied to understanding human behavior and movement patterns. People move through terrain in predictable ways, Maya explained to her fellow soldiers. They follow paths of least resistance, avoid obstacles, and tend to focus their attention on areas that seem most dangerous. If you understand these patterns, you can predict where they'll look and where they won't look. Maya also shared techniques for moving quietly through different types of terrain, explaining how different surfaces required different approaches. She demonstrated how to walk on gravel without making noise, how to move through thick vegetation without creating disturbance, and how to use natural sounds to mask the noise of movement. The other soldiers were fascinated by Maya's explanations. Many of them had never considered that civilian skills like hunting could have direct applications to military operations. They began to understand that Maya's background wasn't a liability, but rather a unique asset that brought valuable capabilities to their unit. Private First Class Marcus Webb, one of the communications specialists in Maya's unit, was particularly interested in her techniques. Marcus had grown up in Chicago and had no experience with outdoor activities. He struggled with the stealth and observation aspects of reconnaissance training and was eager to learn from Maya's experience. "Could you teach me how to move more quietly?" Marcus asked Maya after the debriefing session. "I feel like I sound like a bulldozer compared to you." Maya was happy to help and began working with Marcus during their free time. She taught him basic principles of weight distribution, foot placement, and body movement that she had learned during hunting trips. Marcus was a quick learner and began showing immediate improvement in his stealth capabilities. Word of Maya's teaching abilities spread throughout the training unit, and soon other soldiers were asking for her help with various skills. Maya found herself in the unexpected position of being an informal instructor for her fellow soldiers, sharing knowledge that she had never considered particularly special or valuable. The next phase of training focused on advanced marksmanship under extreme conditions. Maya's unit was required to engage targets at distances up to 800 meters while dealing with challenging weather conditions, limited visibility, and time pressure. This was where Maya's years of experience with her grandfather's rifle truly paid off. While other soldiers struggled to adapt their shooting techniques to different environmental conditions, Maya made adjustments that seemed intuitive and natural. She understood how wind patterns changed throughout the day, how temperature affected bullet trajectory, and how atmospheric conditions could distort optical images through scopes. During one particularly challenging exercise, Maya's unit was required to engage multiple targets in sequence while simulating a tactical withdrawal under enemy fire. The exercise tested not only marksmanship skills, but also the ability to make quick decisions and maintain accuracy under extreme stress. Maya's approach to the exercise was methodical and calm. While other soldiers rushed through the sequence and made mistakes under pressure, Maya maintained her grandfather's teachings about patience and precision. She took the time necessary to ensure each shot was accurate, even though the exercise was designed to encourage rapid fire. The results spoke for themselves. Maya achieved perfect scores on all targets while completing the exercise in less time than most of her fellow soldiers required. Her calm approach actually proved faster than the hurried methods used by others because she didn't waste time correcting missed shots or repositioning for second attempts. Captain Sarah Mitchell, the advanced marksmanship instructor, was impressed by Maya's performance and asked to examine her rifle setup more closely. Captain Mitchell was a competitive shooter herself and had extensive experience with various weapon systems. She was curious about how Maya had achieved such consistent accuracy with what appeared to be a relatively simple rifle configuration. Maya explained the modifications she had made to her grandfather's rifle and the reasoning behind each change. She showed Captain Mitchell how she had adjusted the stock length to accommodate her shorter arms, how she had selected a scope with specific magnification characteristics that worked well with her shooting style, and how she had modified the trigger to provide exactly the right amount of resistance for her finger strength. "This is actually quite sophisticated," Captain Mitchell observed after examining the rifle carefully. "You've essentially created a custom weapon system that's perfectly matched to your physical characteristics and shooting style. Most soldiers never achieve this level of integration between shooter and weapon." Captain Mitchell's assessment gave Maya a new perspective on her equipment choices. She had always thought of her modifications as simple practical adjustments, but she was beginning to understand that she had unconsciously created something more sophisticated than she had realized. The advanced training continued with increasingly complex scenarios that combined multiple skills and challenges. Maya's unit participated in exercises that required them to operate behind enemy lines for extended periods, gathering intelligence while avoiding detection and engaging targets of opportunity when necessary. One exercise stood out as particularly challenging and memorable. Maya's team was inserted into a mountainous region and tasked with observing a simulated enemy encampment for 2 weeks while reporting on activities and personnel movements. The exercise was designed to test their ability to remain hidden for extended periods while maintaining detailed surveillance. Maya's team consisted of 4 soldiers, herself as the designated marksman, Marcus Webb as the communications specialist, Sergeant David Park as the team leader, and Corporal Lisa Santos as the intelligence analyst. The team dynamics had improved significantly since Maya had begun sharing her outdoor skills with her fellow soldiers. The insertion went smoothly, with Maya's team reaching their observation position without incident. However, maintaining surveillance for 2 weeks while remaining undetected proved to be more challenging than any of them had anticipated. The simulated enemy forces conducted regular patrols and counter-surveillance activities designed to locate hidden observation teams. Maya's contribution to the mission went far beyond her role as marksman. Her understanding of natural camouflage and concealment allowed the team to create a hide position that was virtually undetectable even from close range. She taught her teammates how to minimize their visual, auditory, and even olfactory signatures to avoid detection by enemy patrols. The observation position Maya designed took advantage of natural terrain features and vegetation patterns that would appear normal to casual observation. She understood that the key to remaining hidden was not just finding cover, but creating a position that looked like it belonged in the natural environment. During the first week of surveillance, the team's position was investigated by enemy patrols on 3 separate occasions. Each time, the searchers passed within meters of the hidden observation post without detecting any signs of the team's presence. Maya's camouflage and concealment techniques proved their worth under actual testing conditions. Maya's marksmanship skills were also tested during the exercise when the scenario called for the elimination of a high-value target who appeared briefly at the enemy encampment. The shot required extreme precision at maximum range under challenging atmospheric conditions. Maya's years of experience shooting in mountain environments gave her the confidence and ability to make the shot successfully. The exercise concluded with Maya's team being extracted after completing their 2-week surveillance mission without being detected and successfully engaging all assigned targets. Their performance was rated as exceptional by the exercise controllers, and their techniques were studied by instructors for incorporation into future training programs. Colonel Harrison personally debriefed Maya's team after the exercise and expressed particular interest in the camouflage and concealment methods they had developed. He recognized that Maya had brought unique capabilities to the team that significantly enhanced their overall effectiveness. "Rodriguez, your background has contributed something special to this unit," Colonel Harrison told Maya during her individual debrief. "You've developed skills that complement traditional military training in ways that make the whole team stronger." Maya felt proud of her contribution, but also humble about the recognition she was receiving. She understood that her success was built on knowledge passed down through generations of her family and countless hours of practice in the mountains of New Mexico. She was simply applying lessons learned in a different context. As the advanced training program neared completion, Maya reflected on how much she had grown both as a soldier and as a person. She had arrived at Fort Braxton feeling confident in her abilities, but uncertain about how they would be received by military instructors and fellow soldiers. She was leaving with a clear understanding of how her unique background could contribute to military operations and a network of fellow soldiers who respected her capabilities. Maya's final evaluation scores were among the highest in her training class, and she was selected for assignment to an elite reconnaissance unit that would deploy to active combat zones. The assignment was both an honor and a responsibility that Maya took seriously. She understood that her training was preparing her for situations where her skills might mean the difference between mission success and failure, between life and death for herself and her teammates. The night before graduation from the Advanced Reconnaissance School, Maya called her grandfather to share news of her success and upcoming assignment. Miguel Rodriguez was proud of his granddaughter's achievements, but also concerned about the dangers she would face in combat. "Remember what I taught you about patience and observation," her grandfather told her during their phone conversation. "Those skills will serve you well no matter what challenges you face. Trust your instincts, but never forget that your most important mission is to come home safely." Maya promised her grandfather that she would remember his teachings and apply them carefully in whatever situation she might encounter. She understood that her real test was just beginning and that all of her training had been preparation for challenges that she couldn't yet imagine. The graduation ceremony for the Advanced Reconnaissance School was a formal military event attended by senior officers and family members. Maya's parents had traveled from Cedar Valley to attend the ceremony, and they were visibly proud of their daughter's achievements. Her success seemed almost impossible to them, considering her humble beginnings in their small mountain town. During the ceremony, Maya received several awards recognizing her exceptional performance during training. She was named the Outstanding Graduate for Marksmanship and received special recognition for innovative techniques that had enhanced her unit's capabilities. The awards were meaningful to Maya, but even more important was the knowledge that she had found her place in the military and proven the value of her unique background. As Maya prepared to leave Fort Braxton for her next assignment, she carried with her not only enhanced military skills, but also increased confidence in her ability to contribute meaningfully to any team or mission. Her grandfather's rifle remained her constant companion, but now it represented more than family tradition. It had become a symbol of her unique approach to military service and her ability to succeed by staying true to her own abilities and background. Maya's first combat deployment took her to the mountains of Afghanistan, where her reconnaissance unit was tasked with gathering intelligence on enemy movements in one of the most dangerous regions of the country. The area was known for its difficult terrain, unpredictable weather, and the presence of highly skilled enemy fighters who knew the landscape intimately. The deployment began with a challenging helicopter insertion during a moonless night in November. Maya's four-person team was dropped into a remote valley surrounded by peaks that rose over 10,000 feet above sea level. The mission briefing had indicated that enemy forces were using the valley as a supply route and staging area for attacks on coalition forces in nearby regions. Maya's team leader was Staff Sergeant Robert Chun, an experienced special operations soldier who had completed multiple deployments in both Iraq and Afghanistan. Despite his extensive experience, Sergeant Chun recognized that Maya brought unique capabilities to the team that could prove valuable in the mountain environment they were entering. The team also included Specialist Kevin Morrison, a communications expert who had attended advanced training with Maya, and Corporal Amanda Torres, an intelligence analyst who specialized in interpreting enemy movement patterns and activities. The four soldiers had trained together extensively and developed excellent teamwork and trust in each other's abilities. The first challenge facing Maya's team was establishing a secure observation position that would allow them to monitor enemy activities while remaining hidden from detection. The valley was actively patrolled by enemy forces who were experienced in mountain warfare and skilled at detecting hidden positions. Maya studied the terrain carefully, using both her military training and the mountain knowledge her grandfather had taught her. She identified a position on a steep rocky outcrop that would provide excellent visibility of the valley floor, while offering natural concealment and multiple escape routes if the team was discovered. The position Maya selected looked almost impossible to access and appeared to offer no natural shelter. However, Maya recognized features in the rock formation that would allow the team to create an effective hide site using materials available in the natural environment. Her years of hunting in similar terrain had taught her to see possibilities that might not be obvious to others. Creating the observation position required 2 days of careful work during darkness hours to avoid detection. Maya directed the team in building a camouflage shelter that blended perfectly with the natural rock formations. The position was designed to be invisible from below, while providing comprehensive views of the entire valley. Maya's attention to detail during the construction process proved critical to the mission's success. She insisted on removing or disguising every trace of human activity that might alert enemy patrols to their presence. Small details like properly disposing of displaced rocks and matching the natural color patterns of the surrounding terrain made their position virtually undetectable. The team's surveillance mission was scheduled to last 3 weeks, during which they were required to report on all enemy activities while remaining completely hidden. Maya's role as the team's designated marksman included not only long-range observation, but also the responsibility for engaging high-value targets if they presented opportunities. During the first week of surveillance, Maya's team documented extensive enemy activity in the valley. They observed supply convoys moving through the area, identified temporary camps used by enemy fighters, and tracked the movements of what appeared to be senior leadership figures. The intelligence they gathered was immediately valuable to coalition forces planning operations in the region. Maya's observational skills proved particularly valuable during this phase of the mission. Her ability to detect subtle signs of human activity allowed the team to identify enemy positions and activities that might have been missed by soldiers with purely military training. She could spot camouflage positions, detect signs of recent human passage through terrain, and identify abnormal patterns that indicated enemy presence. On the 8th day of their surveillance mission, Maya observed something that would change everything. Through her rifle scope, she noticed a figure moving through the valley who appeared different from the regular enemy fighters they had been monitoring. This individual moved with exceptional skill and confidence, and other enemy personnel showed obvious deference to his presence. Maya studied the figure carefully through her scope and realized she was looking at someone of significant importance within the enemy organization. The individual's movements, equipment, and the behavior of surrounding fighters all suggested that this was a high-value target worth reporting to higher command. Probable HVT in the valley, Maya reported quietly to Sergeant Chun. Individual matches description of regional commander based on movement patterns and reaction of other fighters. Sergeant Chun confirmed Maya's observation and immediately reported the sighting to their command element. Within hours, they received instructions to maintain surveillance on the target and prepare for possible engagement if an opportunity presented itself. Maya spent the next 2 days tracking the high-value target's movements and identifying patterns in his behavior. Her hunting background had taught her how to study animal behavior and predict movements, skills that proved directly applicable to tracking human targets. She identified the routes the target used when moving through the valley and predicted where he was likely to appear based on the activities of other enemy personnel. The opportunity for engagement came on the morning of the 3rd day when Maya spotted the target moving to an exposed position approximately 600 meters from their observation post. The shot would be challenging due to the range, elevation difference, and unpredictable mountain winds, but Maya felt confident in her ability to make the shot successfully. Maya prepared carefully for the engagement, taking into account all of the environmental factors that could affect bullet trajectory. She studied the wind patterns in the valley, estimated the temperature and humidity effects on her ammunition, and calculated the exact holdover required for the range and elevation difference. The shot had to be perfect because Maya would only get one opportunity. Missing would not only alert the entire enemy force to their presence, but would also eliminate any future chances to engage the high-value target. Maya controlled her breathing, let her heart rate settle, and waited for the perfect moment when the target was stationary and clearly visible. When Maya squeezed the trigger, she knew immediately that the shot was perfect. The high-value target dropped instantly, and Maya could see through her scope that the engagement had been successful. The elimination of this regional commander would significantly disrupt enemy operations in the area and save many coalition lives. However, Maya's success created a new problem for her team. The enemy force in the valley immediately began searching for the source of the shot, and their experience in mountain warfare made them dangerous opponents. Maya's team had to remain hidden while enemy fighters conducted an intensive search of the surrounding terrain. Maya's camouflage and concealment skills became critical to the team's survival during the next several days. Enemy search teams passed within meters of their position on multiple occasions, but the observation post remained undetected. Maya's attention to natural camouflage patterns and her understanding of how to eliminate human signatures proved essential to their survival. The enemy search operation continued for 5 days before the fighters concluded that the shot had come from a long-range position outside their search area. During this time, Maya's team had to remain absolutely motionless for hours at a time, communicating only through hand signals and maintaining complete silence even when enemy fighters were directly below their position. Maya's teammates were amazed by her ability to remain perfectly still and silent for such extended periods. Her hunting background had taught her the patience required to wait for the right opportunity, and she was able to maintain focus and alertness even during the most stressful moments of the enemy search operation. When the enemy search finally ended, Maya's team was able to resume their surveillance mission. However, word of their successful engagement had reached higher command levels, and they received new instructions to remain in position for an extended period to gather additional intelligence on enemy reactions to the loss of their regional commander. Maya's elimination of the high-value target had created significant disruption within the enemy organization. The team observed numerous meetings and activities that suggested the enemy was struggling to reorganize their command structure and operations. This intelligence proved valuable for planning future coalition operations in the region. After 6 weeks in their mountain observation position, Maya's team was finally extracted by helicopter during another moonless night. Their mission had been an exceptional success, providing critical intelligence and eliminating a high-value target while remaining completely undetected throughout their deployment. The extraction was as challenging as the insertion had been, requiring precise timing and coordination to avoid enemy forces that were still active in the valley. Maya's team had to move several kilometers from their observation position to a pickup zone while avoiding detection by enemy patrols that had increased their activities following the death of their regional commander. Maya's movement skills proved valuable once again during the extraction movement. She guided the team through terrain that avoided known enemy positions while maintaining the speed necessary to reach the pickup zone on schedule. Her ability to move quietly and efficiently through mountain terrain ensured that the team reached their extraction point without incident. Upon returning to their forward operating base, Maya's team underwent extensive debriefing sessions where they shared the intelligence they had gathered during their extended mission. The information they provided led to several successful coalition operations that disrupted enemy activities throughout the region. Maya's performance during the mission earned her recognition at the highest levels of military command. She received the Bronze Star Medal for her successful engagement of the high-value target and the Army Commendation Medal for her overall contribution to the mission's success. More importantly to Maya, she had proven that her unique background and skills could make a significant difference in actual combat operations. News of Maya's success spread throughout the military community, and she began to develop a reputation as an exceptionally skilled sniper and reconnaissance specialist. Other units requested her for missions that required her particular combination of marksmanship skills and fieldcraft abilities. However, Maya's growing reputation also created challenges. Some soldiers and officers struggled to accept that someone with her unconventional background could achieve such exceptional results. They questioned whether her success was due to luck rather than skill, and whether her methods could be relied upon in other situations. Maya's response to these doubts was characteristically humble and professional. She continued to focus on her missions and training, allowing her results to speak for themselves rather than engaging in arguments about her methods or background. She understood that some people would never accept her approach regardless of her success rate. During her second deployment, Maya was assigned to a larger unit that included several other snipers and reconnaissance specialists. This assignment gave her the opportunity to work with soldiers who had different backgrounds and training experiences, allowing her to continue learning and developing her skills. The senior sniper in Maya's new unit was Master Sergeant William Thompson, a career soldier with over 15 years of combat experience. Master Sergeant Thompson had initially been skeptical of Maya's unconventional methods, but he quickly recognized her exceptional abilities and became a mentor who helped her refine her military skills while maintaining her unique approach. "Rodriguez, you have natural abilities that can't be taught," Master Sergeant Thompson told Maya during one of their training sessions. "The key is combining those abilities with proper military discipline and tactics to maximize your effectiveness." Maya appreciated Master Sergeant Thompson's guidance and worked diligently to integrate his tactical knowledge with her own instinctive skills. She learned advanced military techniques for target identification, range estimation, and tactical movement that enhanced her natural abilities significantly. Maya's third significant combat engagement occurred during an operation to rescue a captured coalition pilot whose helicopter had been shot down in enemy territory. Maya's unit was tasked with providing overwatch and elimination of enemy positions that threatened the rescue operation. The rescue mission required Maya to engage multiple targets in rapid succession while supporting the movement of friendly forces through dangerous terrain. This was a completely different type of engagement from her previous long-range elimination of a single high-value target, requiring quick decision-making and rapid target acquisition under extreme time pressure. Maya's performance during the rescue operation was exceptional. She successfully engaged 7 enemy positions, allowing the rescue team to reach the downed pilot and extract him safely. Her ability to quickly identify and engage threats while avoiding friendly fire situations demonstrated the tactical discipline she had developed through her military training. The rescued pilot, Captain Michael Rodriguez, no relation to Maya, later described Maya's supporting fire as supernatural in its accuracy and effectiveness. He credited her with saving his life and the lives of the rescue team members who had risked everything to reach him. Maya's reputation continued to grow following the successful rescue operation. Military intelligence analysts began studying her methods and trying to understand how her unique background contributed to her exceptional performance. Some of her techniques were incorporated into training programs for other reconnaissance and sniper personnel. However, Maya remained focused on her primary mission of serving her country and protecting her fellow soldiers. She understood that recognition and award were secondary to the responsibility she carried every time she deployed on a combat mission. Maya's final deployment of her initial military contract took her to a different region where her unit was tasked with training local forces in reconnaissance and marksmanship techniques. This assignment allowed Maya to share her knowledge with soldiers from a completely different cultural and military background. The training mission presented unique challenges because Maya had to communicate complex concepts to soldiers who spoke a different language and came from a culture with different approaches to warfare. However, Maya's patient teaching style and emphasis on fundamental principles proved effective across cultural boundaries. Maya discovered that many of the local soldiers had backgrounds similar to her own, with extensive experience in their native terrain and natural hunting abilities that could be adapted to military applications. She found herself learning as much from them as she was teaching, gaining new insights into fieldcraft and survival techniques. The training mission was considered highly successful, with the local forces demonstrating significant improvement in their reconnaissance and marksmanship capabilities. Maya's ability to connect with soldiers from different backgrounds and effectively transfer knowledge became another valuable skill that military leaders recognized and appreciated. As Maya's initial military contract neared completion, she faced important decisions about her future. She had proven herself as an exceptional soldier and could have a successful career in the military if she chose to continue serving. However, she also had opportunities to pursue education or civilian careers that would build on the skills and experience she had gained. Maya ultimately decided to continue her military service, but she requested assignment to a training role where she could help develop the next generation of reconnaissance and sniper personnel. She wanted to share the knowledge she had gained and help other soldiers develop their own unique approaches to military service. Maya's new assignment took her back to Fort Braxton, where she had completed her own advanced training several years earlier. Now she was returning as an instructor with extensive combat experience and a reputation as one of the military's most skilled reconnaissance specialists. In her new role as an instructor, Maya found herself working with students who reminded her of herself when she had first arrived at Fort Braxton with her grandfather's rifle and unconventional background. She made it her mission to help these students understand that their unique backgrounds and experiences could be assets rather than obstacles to military success. Maya's teaching style emphasized patience, observation, and the integration of natural abilities with military discipline. She encouraged her students to think creatively about problems and to trust their instincts while maintaining proper tactical procedures. Her approach produced graduates who were skilled not only in technical aspects of reconnaissance and marksmanship, but also in the mental disciplines necessary for success in combat. Years later, Maya would receive reports from around the world about soldiers she had trained who were applying her techniques successfully in various combat situations. These reports gave her deep satisfaction and confirmed her belief that the knowledge passed down through her family could contribute to the safety and success of American soldiers everywhere. Maya had traveled a remarkable journey from a small mountain town in New Mexico to becoming one of the military's most respected reconnaissance specialists. Her success had come not from abandoning her background, but from having the confidence to apply her unique skills in a military context and the patience to prove their value through consistent performance. The rifle that had once drawn mockery and skepticism had become legendary within certain military circles. Soldiers would speak in respectful tones about Rodriguez and her grandfather's rifle, understanding that they represented something special about the diversity of backgrounds and experiences that could contribute to military excellence. Maya had earned her nickname, the Ghost of the Battlefield, through her ability to appear and disappear without detection, to engage targets with supernatural accuracy, and to accomplish missions that seemed impossible to others. But she knew that her success was built on simple principles her grandfather had taught her in the mountains of New Mexico: patience, observation, respect for the environment, and the confidence to trust your abilities even when others doubt them. The story of Maya Rodriguez became an inspiration to soldiers from unconventional backgrounds who wondered whether they could succeed in military service. Her example proved that success came not from conforming to expectations, but from having the courage to demonstrate your abilities and the persistence to prove their value over time. Maya's legacy extended far beyond her individual accomplishments. She had helped change military attitudes about the value of diverse backgrounds and experiences, opening doors for other soldiers who brought unique perspectives and skills to military service. Her influence could be seen in training programs, tactical procedures, and the careers of countless soldiers who had learned from her example.